Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. Guys, if you've ever followed a designer and you bought a knife and then they released a new one and you're like, I should have just held on for another day, hit that like button because you're in good company. Today, we're talking about this guy. This is the Bestech Exploit. Now, I know this is not necessarily a brand new model. In fact, I believe it's been around for a couple years now, but it's been massively popular. You see, it's made by Bestech, but in collaboration with Todd Knife and Tool. Gosh, I love that pivot. That has got to be one of the coolest designer pivots that I've seen on a collaboration. Shout out Todd Knife and Tool. You guys got that down. So, why are we talking about a model that's been out for a few years now? It's because it's important to know where we've been in relation to where we're going, especially in knife design. You see, for years, it kind of felt like knives were getting a little stale in the design department. You can only ever make so many knives that look like a buck 110. But nowadays, it's almost like the cell phone world, where we get new models every 6 months, 12 months, every quarter there's something new. And I have a great appreciation for the knife makers and designers who really push the limits, who take a step outside of their comfort zone and the comfort zone of the general public to bring us something new and something different. And that's something that Todd Knife and Tool does very, very well. You see, a knife like this has classic design cues, but it also takes a step away from what's normal. Maybe you saw my video on the Bestech Vigil, designed by Kombu. Bestech's doing a really great job lately of finding ways to push the boundaries, to push people's comfort zones, to really open up the idea of, what's new, what's crazy, what do you like? What are you not afraid to say, yeah, this is my knife? Todd Knife and Tool is a really, really, really cool designer because they found the sweet spot. Now, shout out to Bestech for allowing me to borrow this and their new hotness. I'm extremely excited to go over these two knives. Guys, roll the tape. Let's check out what's new from Bestech. All right, so before we get into it, something I want to shout out is that I just got some channel stickers in. Because listen, I'm always talking about how much I love the sharp and shiny. So now you have the opportunity to get some sharp and shiny as well. These are indeed holographic, and they're in a limited amount. I only ordered about 30 of these guys or so. If you are interested in getting your own Rollshambo.edc channel sticker, go ahead, leave a comment down below, and I will be randomly picking comments in the next couple videos, and I'll be sending out some stickers. So if your comment gets picked in any future videos, hit me up in my email. Email is down below in the description. Rollshambo.edc@gmail.com. Big surprise, I know. But yeah, get you some sharp and shiny. So, we've already mentioned this is the Bestech Exploit. And you're probably wondering what's inside this case. You see, I could have left it in the pouch. I could have left it in the package and done an unboxing because those are really hot. But I'm going to be honest with you. Unboxings are not usually my best videos. I struggle with the USPS boxes. I struggle with the USPS boxes. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm nervous about like cutting in too deep. I don't know my own strength, I guess. So instead, now we're going to put it in the case. Let me know, by the way, if you prefer seeing it in a case like this instead of having me torture some cardboard. Don't worry, the cardboard got what it was asking for. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bestech Nixie. Also made by Bestech in collaboration with Todd Knife and Tools. You can see that super sexy pivot. It's one-sided, it's a captive pivot. You know how much I love those. Titanium frame lock on one side, carbon fiber on the other. But if you do prefer full titanium and you're okay with a little bit of extra weight, they do have those variants, and you can get them in black titanium, you can get them in gray titanium, you know, whatever your flavor is. So maybe now you're starting to see why I started off with the exploit. We're going to be comparing them. How far did they come in 2 years? Where are we now versus where we were then? Well, first and foremost, my first impressions of this knife are pretty good. You know, big shocker there. We have what looks like in the closed position, and maybe this is just me, doesn't this look like a dragon's head? I've seen a couple videos on other channels and nobody seems to mention this. You know, maybe I'm just the guy that looks for faces on the front of cars, but to me, this looks like some kind of cyborg android dragon skull. I don't know. Couple things, as you can see, the classic lightning bolt shaped Todd Knife and Tool pocket clip, full body length backspacer, which I love. I love having a blade that's protected. As you can see as well, captive pivot, fuller deployment hole. I refuse to call this a Spidey hole because that's kind of proprietary to Spyderco, but it's a, you know, an oblong shaped deployment hole. So right away, the other thing that I want to mention is this crowned spine. This is something that's different that you're not going to see on the exploit. See, on the exploit, it is a flat spine. Something else that I noticed right away is, so check this out. Tight jimping, tight jimping, tight jimping, space jimping. Space jimping, tight jimping. I think that that's on purpose. You see, it's important to know where we've been in relation to where we're going, because you can tell they got some feedback and they listened to it. The shape of the front flipper is pretty close. Main difference is this one protrudes a little bit farther, and the jimping that you need the most traction on is at the top. You want this tighter jimping at the top. It makes it easier to front flip. So I'm going to put this down, which, by the way, this is a knife that's tough to put down. It's just super fun. And we're going to talk more about this guy here in a minute. First deployment on the channel. Bang. Man, you know, this knife is beautiful, and you know that I'm a gigantic fan of Wharncliffe blades, and there's going to be someone in the comments down below saying, that's a sheep's foot, it's a sheep's foot, and then someone else is going to fight them and say, no, that's a Wharncliffe. I don't really care. It's a blade shape that I highly enjoy. I like it because it's easy to sharpen, it's easy to strop, you don't have this gigantic belly. And so if you buy this knife for your own uses, you can easily maintain it. And that's the biggest thing for me, is that, you know, I carry my knives. If I were to buy this myself, I would want to be able to eventually sharpen it when I need to. I haven't mentioned this yet. This is S35VN, much the same as the Bestech Exploit. The Bestech Exploit is also S35VN. S35VN is a great steel. This might be a bit of a disappointment to my viewers who are fans of USA made knives, because I've been showing a lot of knives that have been made in China recently. I can't help the fact that I like knives that are built well. I couldn't care less if this knife was made in Timbuktu. If it's well built and it's something that I enjoy carrying, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. You know, if this knife was made here in the United States, it would absolutely cost more. No doubt about it. And not to knock USA made knives, but when it comes to the quality of production and fit and finish, it's really hard for American companies to compete with what's coming out of Asia right now. It's really tough. The crown spine is a nice touch. It proves that even a designer who designed a knife like this exploit, which was very, very, very popular when it first came out, they have room to improve, and they took that advice from their customers, and they put it to life. So the exploit is quite a bit larger, in my opinion, as far as the carry profile. If we were to put these next to each other, the pocket print is larger on the exploit. This one is going to be a lot easier to fit in your pocket, and it's going to be something that's a little bit lighter. The blade is not as long, and I'll say this, the detent is not as heavy. Now, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because even though I like a nice solid detent, it means that it's really easy to actuate for the reverse flick. See, the front flipper is definitely a main theme here, but so is this deployment hole. Look at the difference. Designed 2 years ago, designed this year. It's sleeker. They still have the fuller. Fuller doesn't really change, it's fuller. But when you look at the lines on the body are still there. As far as what kind of hardware you're going to need, let's go ahead and I'm going to grab my handy dandy screwdriver, which, by the way, I am going to be looking for a new set of drivers. This one should be T8. Yep, Torx T8. So, Torx T8, Torx T8. What about the pocket clip? Torx T8. Fantastic. I don't need to switch bits. And you know, the main reason why I like having a larger bit and only one of them is because not only am I lazy and I don't want to have to switch bits, but also the larger the bit, the less likely it is to strip. You have more torque. Torx T8, Torx T8, 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 T8. So they didn't necessarily change anything that didn't need to be changed, and that's good to see. Another big difference is this one has a built-in lanyard hole, and this one does not. I know some of you love lanyards, some of you hate them. I'm not a huge lanyard guy. I do have them on some of my knives, but I'm not mad at this, okay? And the reason I'm not mad at this is that it doesn't get in the way of this pocket clip. This pocket clip is not quite deep carry, as you can see, but it gets up really nice and close, so that doesn't get in the way. And as it stands, I think that even if you don't put a lanyard in there, it still adds to the look, that machined robotic finish of the Bestech Nixie. The design on here is just really, really fun. Dead center, as far as the lockup is concerned. That appears to be, I wouldn't say super early. That's about 25, close to 30% lockup. So that's pretty good. You know, I don't need to do some spine wax to tell you that this knife is not going to fail on the lock. Now, it should go without saying that you shouldn't baton with your pocket knives, but you know, somebody out there has got to do it. The jimping on the next to the tang of the blade is that tight jimping, and it moves to the thicker jimping. And the idea there is that the thicker jimping helps when you're choked up on the blade. And then the tighter jimping keeps your fingers from rolling back. So you get a nice choked up grip. And the shape of the blade is really great for utility cuts. It's also good for self-defense because if you've ever watched Michael Janish's video, Michael Janish, by the way, guy that designed the Yojimbo and Yojimbo 2 for Spyderco, he found out that the flatter the edge profile, the more leverage you got in your slashes. It evenly distributes force. And so, definitely good for utility. You could also use it for self-defense. For all of you who, live life on the edge, most of you don't. I don't. I've never needed to use my knife for self-defense. Fingers crossed, I never do. But yeah, you could use it in that application as well. Now, as far as the rest, and I'm going to get this out of the way so that I can go ahead and do some more comparisons. Let's talk about the overall dimensions. So, let's pull the tape first on the exploit. The exploit's going to be coming in at just over 8 inches, let's say about 8 1/4. And the Nixie is just shy of 8. I love knives that don't have a huge overall length, but also allow me to get a full 4-finger grip. Plus the thumb, if you add it onto the top, that's great. This one is going to be for those who want something that's just a bit bigger, a bit more imposing. If we look on the inside here, you don't really see a whole lot of skeletonization happening. There's not a whole lot that's been milled out on that titanium scale, but they didn't really need to. They didn't need to because you have light carbon fiber right there. And you'll notice that on this one, if you look on the inside, this one has been skeletonized. So this is even lighter. Same speed holes. The design cues are the same. This one is just one where they had a couple years to listen to their customers. I'm going to pop the weight of these knives up on the screen. It makes exactly that much difference. Now, is that to say that you should never buy a Bestech exploit, or if you were considering this knife that you shouldn't buy it? No, this is still a cool knife. Just like Camaros made in the 60s are still a cool car. And just like Camaros made in the 60s, eventually they're going to stop making these exploits. They may have already stopped production. For all we know, the ones that are out there are the only ones that are left. It's still a damn cool knife and one that I would love to have in my collection. I will be doing Grail or Garbage videos on both of these after I've had a chance to carry them in pocket and really experience them. So I'm looking forward to that. I could have split this up into 2 videos, guys, but I thought that it was so crazy just how much they shared in common. My friends, that's all I got for you right now. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, boo-hoo, there's a button for you too. And if you want to see more content just like it, make sure you tap the subscribe button. Other than that, I will see you on the flip side.